everybody, welcome to this database tutorial. Today we're going to consider the following scenario. A client device, such as your laptop, is going to request a web page from a web server. The web page is going to query a database table, and the results of the query are going to be displayed in the web page dynamically. Once that's done, we can download the web page onto the client device, and it can be viewed in the browser. To help our web page communicate with the database, we are going to be using a language called PHP. Now, before we start talking about PHP, hopefully you have already imported today's data set, which is all about fast food ordering times at restaurants in India, into your database. My database is called My Tables, and this table is called Fast Food Ordering. Just want to make a couple of things very clear as we get started today. Just going to click up here where it says Server Localhost. My username is root, so I need to remember that. We'll talk about that in a few moments. And in the SQL universe, we are using MySQL, so that might be quite useful to remember. Okay, so the PHP file that we're going to be requesting today is data.php. Now, when I say PHP file, it's really just a web page. But this web page is going to be running some PHP code. So for that to happen, we have to give the web page a .php extension. Okay, but it's really just a web page. As you can see, we've still got our HTML tags, the head section, the body section, but we also have some PHP blocks. Okay, and we'll look at these as we go through today's tutorial. Now remember, ultimately, data.php is going to be stored on our server. And in the PHP universe, in the XAMPP universe, our server is called localhost. Now, of course, it could be facebook.com. But in the XAMPP virtual environment, it's called localhost. This is the name of our server. And on this server, somewhere, there is a file called data.php. The trick is, where do we save this file? Where do we save it? Okay, so let's just take a quick look at that. Let's go to the XAMPP interface and open the application folder. All of your files and folders which you want users to be able to download from the virtual server, which is localhost, all of those files and folders will be stored in the htdocs folder. This is like the public folder where people can request files. Okay? So if I go in there and let's try and find a file that I want to request. Let's request hello.html. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my web browser. I'm going to say, hey server, can you please download hello.html onto my browser? I'm requesting this file. Let's see if it works. Yay, it worked. Okay. Now what I've done is, I've created a subfolder called food orders, and that is where I'm storing my data.php file. So I should be able to do this. Localhost / let's go into that subfolder, food orders, there it is, and now let's download data.php. I don't think anything will happen because we haven't done anything yet. But let's just see what happens. Okay, so we do see that H1 element there. There it is, top 10 ordering times. But we haven't connected to the database. We haven't run a query, and we haven't displayed the query results yet. None of that is being shown here. So let's get started with that process. Now, how can we contact our database, which I've called MyTables. Now, you don't have to memorize any of this, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my good friend, W3 Schools, and I'm going to figure out how to connect to a MySQL database. Remember, I told you this is the SQL technology that we're working with in XAMPP. So let's go into the recommended page, connect to a MySQL database, and this is the code that I'm going to steal. I'm going to copy that into my first PHP block, which is up here. So I'm just going to delete that first block, paste. This is the start of the PHP block. This is the end of the PHP block, and this is the PHP. Notice that PHP variables start with a dollar sign. Okay, pretty straightforward. These are all variables. Now, I told you that my username is not username, it's root. And the database that we're working with is MyTables. And I don't think we've set up any kind of password, so let's just leave that blank. We could just remove that line, but for the moment I'm going to make that blank. Now that we've set up these variables, I'm now going to create another variable which is going to store the connection to my MySQL database using these variables here. This connection is going to allow my web page, data.php, to communicate with this database. If we're successful, okay? If we're not successful, then we're going to get an error. And if we are successful, hopefully we're going to see this connect successfully echoed onto the web page. Echo is just a PHP command saying, please put this onto the web page. Okay, so let's see if this works. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to localhost. This is my data.php file that I'm requesting. Let's just refresh it. Whoa, it connected successfully. That is the end of part 1 of today's intro tutorial to PHP. See if you can get that far. See if you can connect your data.php file to your database.